Okay, guys, we're going to move on to the next section in your notes packet that's solving equations using radical or rational exponents. This is, like I said, in your notes packet, so please make sure that you copy these examples down. So there's only 4. This is it, so it shouldn't take you very long. So whenever you're going to solve an equation that has some sort of exponent in it, we've done ones that had square roots, but we might at some point have to take a cube root or a fifth root or a fourth root or something like that. So you'll want to make sure that you are watching for the proper steps. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you isolate the power, meaning get it by itself. Add, subtract, divide, whatever you got to do to get the powered term by itself. And then once you do that, take the nth root of both sides. Sometimes, as we're going to see in examples 3 and 4, there might still be steps to do after that. The other thing that you want to really watch for is to make sure that you use a plus or minus when necessary. And what we talked about yesterday is that you need a plus or minus anytime you do an even root. Square root, fourth root, sixth root, and so on. Odd roots, we don't need a plus or minus. So if we look at example 1 here, x cubed equals 125. Well, x cubed, if we want to undo that, we'd have to use a cube root. It's already by itself. That's a 1x cubed. There's no plus, minus, times, nothing. So what we would do to both sides is we would take the cubed root. The cubed root of x cubed is just going to be x. That's the whole point, is to undo that. And the cubed root of 125, you can put that in your calculator. This one comes out nice and even. We get 5. No plus or minus needed. And that's it. So if we look at example 2, we see that this one we have a little bit of an added step. The power term is x to the 5th. So we need to remove that coefficient. So we will first divide by 4 on both sides, and that gives us x to the 5th is equal to 32. Now at this point, we want to get rid of that 5th power. To do that, we take a 5th root on both sides. A 5th root is odd, so we do not need a plus or minus. So we get x is equal to, this is another one that comes out evenly, and the answer is 2. Okay, so they're that simple. It's the same idea as solving any other equation. We just want to get the power by itself, and then we have to do it a little bit differently from there. So looking at example 3, we have 2 times the quantity x minus 5 to the 4th power equals 162. Now, what I want to point out to you specifically on this one is that when we say isolate the power, for this particular problem, the power is this entire quantity, x minus 5 to the 4th. You cannot distribute that 2. You cannot distribute the 4th power. That is absolutely not allowed. Remember, we never distribute exponents. So what we need to do then is undo that power. That basically frees up whatever's inside those parentheses for us to continue working. So since we need to get that parentheses term by itself, we'll start by dividing by 2. That'll cancel out this, and it leaves us with just the quantity x minus 5 to the 4th power equals 81. Now, we can't do anything else until we get rid of that 4th power. So this is where we're going to 4th root both sides. But notice, 4 is even. Both of the other examples were odd. So what we get is x minus 5 equals, because it's even, this is where we introduce a plus or minus. The 4th root of 81 is going to be plus or minus 3, because 3 to the 4th is 81. Now from here, we still need to keep going, because we need to get x by itself. And so what we'll do is add 5 to both sides. That gives us that x is equal to positive 5 plus or minus 3. Now, those are both whole numbers in like terms, so we can go ahead and combine those. 5 plus 3 would be 8, and 5 minus 3 would be 2. So those would be our two possible solutions. Okay, and then the last one, I'm losing my voice here. Again, the term that we're going to work on getting by itself is going to be this quantity x minus 3 to the second power. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of this negative 15. And the way that we're going to do that is by adding 15 to both sides. And so we get x minus 3 quantity squared equals 50. And now we're ready to square root both sides. Take the square root and the square root. Now, remember that we don't write the index when we do a square root. So you don't want to put a little 2 out there. You want to just leave it. And so that's going to give us x minus 3 over here. But remember now, this was an even root, a square root. So that means that we need to use a plus or minus. Since it said to round to the nearest hundredth in the directions, we're going to go ahead and write this out as a decimal. Plus or minus 7.07. And then we would add 3 to both sides. So what we end up with is x is equal to 3 plus or minus 7.07. So our two possibilities are going to be 10.07 and I think negative 4.07. Yep, negative 4.07. Those would be our two possible solutions to the nearest hundredth. Okay? So that's all there is to it for today. The only thing you got to worry about is, should you get one solution or should you get two solutions? Do you need that plus or minus or do you not? Okay? That's going to be it. I will collect both of your assignments tomorrow. So don't turn anything into the sub. Just hang on to that and I'll get it from you guys when I get back. I will see you on Wednesday.